He tried to destroy a termite mound until his dog sensed something buried beneath that should never be opened. In the silent mountains of Montana, a retired Navy SEAL prepares to tear down a massive termite mound to save his dying ranch. But his loyal K9 suddenly turns wild, clawing at the ground like it's alive. When metal is uncovered beneath decades of earth, Logan realizes this isn't just land. It's a secret someone buried for a reason. Comment 1 if you'd keep digging, or 0 if you'd walk away, and tell us where you're watching from. The wind moved slow across the high valley, dragging thin ribbons of dust over the cracked earth like something trying to hide what had already been lost. Logan Pierce sat in the cab of the old bulldozer, one hand resting on the worn steel lever, the other gripping the steering wheel a little tighter than necessary. The engine idled beneath him with a deep, steady rumble that vibrated through his boots and up his spine, a sound that usually calmed him. Today, it didn't. Ahead of him, rising out of the dry Montana soil like a scar that refused to heal, stood the mound. It was massive, bigger than anything nature had a right to build. Hardened clay and mineral deposits had fused over decades, maybe longer, forming a structure that looked less like a termite mound and more like a fossilized monument. It stretched nearly 15 feet high, its surface cracked and layered, as if time itself had tried, and failed, to break it apart. And right in the center of Logan's north pasture, right where the land should have been alive. He squinted at it through the dusty windshield. Everything around the mound was dead. No grass, no weeds, just dry, brittle dirt that crumbled under the slightest pressure. The rest of the ranch wasn't doing much better, but here it was worse, like something had drained the life straight out of the ground. Logan exhaled slowly, fogging the glass for a brief second. Last shot, he muttered to himself. If there was water under that thing, any kind of underground source, it might be enough. Enough to keep the cattle alive, enough to hold off the bank a little longer, enough to buy time. Time was all he needed. A soft thump echoed against the side of the bulldozer. Logan glanced down. Atlas stood beside the machine, his gray and black coat catching the pale morning light. The German shepherd's ears were up, alert, but his body wasn't relaxed. His posture was rigid, almost locked in place, his gaze fixed not on Logan, but on the mound. Logan frowned. "You good, buddy?" Atlas didn't look at him, didn't move, just stared. That wasn't like him. Atlas was a retired military working dog, trained, disciplined, and more stable than most people Logan knew. He had been through gunfire, explosions, chaos that would break lesser animals. He didn't spook. He didn't panic. And he definitely didn't ignore commands. Logan tapped the side of the cab. "Atlas!" The dog's ears twitched, but his eyes stayed locked forward. Then came the sound, a low, uneasy whine. Not loud, not sharp, just enough to cut through the engine's rumble like a thread pulled too tight. Logan's grip on the controls loosened slightly. That sound. He hadn't heard it in a long time, not since the desert. He shook the thought away and pushed the throttle forward. The bulldozer roared louder, the tracks grinding into the dirt as the machine lurched ahead. The blade lowered with a heavy mechanical groan, angled directly at the base of the mound. "Let's get this done," Logan said under his breath. The machine moved forward. 5 yards. 4. 3. Suddenly, Atlas exploded. A sharp, violent bark cracked through the air. Logan flinched. Atlas wasn't just barking, he was charging. The dog sprinted straight toward the bulldozer, cutting across its path, his paws tearing into the dry earth. He skidded to a stop directly in front of the blade, barking wildly, his entire body vibrating with urgency. "Atlas, move!" Logan shouted, slamming his foot on the brake. The bulldozer jolted, the heavy blade stopping just feet from the dog. Atlas didn't move. He lunged forward, claws scraping against the dirt, digging frantically at a single spot just left of center. Dirt flew behind him in sharp bursts as he clawed deeper, barking between each frantic movement. "What the hell are you doing?" Logan muttered, heart starting to pound. This wasn't a warning bark. This wasn't a distraction. This was panic. Atlas stopped digging just long enough to look up at Logan. Eyes wide, intense, almost desperate. Then he turned back and dug harder. Logan killed the engine. The sudden silence dropped over the valley like a weight. Only the wind. And Atlas. Logan swung the cab door open and jumped down, boots hitting the dirt with a dull thud. The cold air bit through his jacket, but he barely noticed. He walked toward the dog slowly, every step measured. Hey, he said, his voice lower now. Easy. Atlas didn't respond. He kept digging, faster, more aggressive. His nails scraped against something beneath the surface, something that didn't sound like dirt. A dull, hollow sound. Logan froze. Atlas suddenly stopped. Just stopped. The dog backed away 2 steps, his body lowering slightly, ears pinned halfway back, not in submission, but in warning. Logan looked from Atlas to the disturbed patch of ground, then back at Atlas. The dog wasn't looking at him. He was looking at the ground. And he wasn't barking anymore. He was listening. Logan felt a slow, cold tension crawl up his spine. "All right," he said quietly, more to himself than the dog. He walked forward, boots crunching lightly over the dry soil, and crouched down beside the freshly dug spot. The earth there was darker, compacted, different. He reached out, brushing away loose dirt with his hand. His fingers hit something solid. Not rock, not wood, metal. Logan's breath caught slightly. Behind him, Atlas let out a low, almost inaudible whine. Not fear. Something else. Something deeper. Logan swallowed, his hand still resting against the buried surface. "Okay," he whispered. He pressed harder, clearing more dirt away. The metal surface stretched wider than his hand. Smooth, flat, deliberate. A structure. Logan slowly sat back on his heels, eyes narrowing. Atlas didn't move closer, didn't sniff, didn't investigate. He just stood there, tense, watching, like he was waiting for something. Logan glanced up at him, confusion tightening in his chest. "You found something, didn't you?" Atlas didn't answer. He just stared at the ground. And for the first time since Logan had known him, the dog didn't look like he was trying to show him something. He looked like he was trying to warn him. The wind picked up again, whispering through the empty valley. And for a brief moment, Logan had the strange, unshakable feeling that whatever was buried beneath that mound had just been disturbed and might already know they were there. The thought lingered longer than Logan wanted it to. He sat back on his heels, staring at the patch of exposed metal, the wind brushing cold against the back of his neck. It didn't make sense. Nothing about this place ever did. But this felt different. "All right," he said quietly, forcing his voice steady. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves." He pushed himself to his feet, brushing dirt from his hands. Atlas hadn't moved. The dog stood a few yards back, still tense, still watching the ground like it might move on its own. "Come here," Logan said. Atlas hesitated. That alone was enough to tighten something deep in Logan's chest. "Atlas," he repeated, firmer this time. The dog obeyed, but slowly, carefully, each step measured, like he was crossing into territory he didn't trust. When he reached Logan, he pressed his shoulder lightly against his leg. A familiar gesture, one Logan had come to rely on more than he ever admitted. Logan rested a hand on the dog's neck, feeling the thick fur beneath his fingers, the steady warmth, the strength. "You felt something, didn't you?" he murmured. Atlas didn't answer, of course, but his ears stayed pinned halfway back, and his eyes never left the ground behind them. Logan followed his gaze. The metal was still there, still silent, still buried, except for the small section Atlas had uncovered. He turned away. "Not today," he said under his breath. The decision came quick, instinctive. Years ago, that kind of hesitation would have gotten him killed. But this wasn't the desert. This wasn't a mission. This was his land. Still, something about it didn't sit right. He walked back to the bulldozer and climbed into the cab. The seat creaked beneath him as he settled in, staring out over the dry pasture. The mound loomed in front of him, unchanged, unmoved, as if the last 10 minutes hadn't happened at all. He didn't restart the engine. Instead, he just sat there. The silence crept in, and with it, the memories. A different kind of heat. A different kind of dust. Gunfire echoing off distant hills. Radio chatter cutting in and out. The smell of metal and smoke. And that moment, that single moment, when everything had gone wrong. Logan blinked hard, dragging himself back. "Not now," he muttered. He stepped out of the bulldozer again and grabbed his jacket from the seat. Atlas followed him this time, close at his side, brushing against his leg with each step. They walked back toward the house. The ranch stretched out around them, wide, empty, and quiet. Too quiet. The cattle pens sat half full, the animals thin, restless. The water trough was low again. Everything felt like it was holding on by a thread. The small cabin at the edge of the property came into view, its wood siding faded from years of harsh winters and relentless sun. It wasn't much, but it was his. Inside, it was warmer. Logan set a kettle on the stove and leaned against the counter, rubbing his hands over his face. His reflection stared back at him from the darkened window, older than he remembered, lines deeper, eyes heavier. Atlas moved to his usual spot near the door, lying down but not fully relaxed. His head stayed up, ears alert, still listening. Logan noticed. "You're not letting this go, are you?" Atlas gave a soft huff but didn't move. Logan poured himself a cup of coffee and walked to the small kitchen table. A stack of unopened envelopes sat there, edges curling slightly from the dry air. He didn't need to open them. He already knew. He picked one up anyway, turning it over in his hands. The bank's logo stared back at him like a quiet threat. Final notice. He set it back down. Across the room, Atlas shifted, his nails clicking softly against the wooden floor. Logan glanced over. "You remember the water drills?" Logan said, almost absent-mindedly. "Back in Coronado?" Atlas's ears twitched at the sound of his voice. Logan let out a faint breath, almost a laugh. "Of course you do. You were better at them than half the guys." The memory came clearer now. Cold ocean water, night exercises. The way Atlas had stayed focused, even when everything else fell apart. The dog had always known when something was wrong, before anyone else, before it was visible, before it was too late. Logan's expression shifted, slowly. His gaze drifted back toward the window, toward the pasture, toward the mound. "You weren't scared," he said quietly. "You were warning me." Atlas stood, not suddenly, not aggressively, just stood. That was enough. Logan set the cup down, untouched. He walked to the door and opened it. Cold air rushed in, carrying the faint scent of dust and pine. The sun was dipping lower now, casting long shadows across the land. Atlas stepped out first. He didn't run, didn't bark. He just walked a few paces ahead and stopped. Looking back. Waiting. Logan followed. They didn't go all the way back to the mound. Not yet. They stopped halfway, standing at the edge of the dead zone where the soil turned from dry to lifeless. Logan crouched, picking up a handful of dirt. It crumbled instantly. Too dry, too empty. He let it fall through his fingers. Then he looked up again. The mound stood silent, unchanged. But now, it didn't feel like part of the land. It felt like something placed there. Something that didn't belong. Atlas let out a low, uneasy whine. Logan nodded slowly. "Yeah," he said. "I'm starting to think the same thing." The wind shifted again, colder now, and for the first time since he'd bought the land, Logan Pierce no longer felt like he was alone on it. The feeling didn't pass. It followed him through the evening, through the quiet creak of the cabin walls and the slow fading of daylight beyond the mountains. Even as the sky turned from pale blue to deep violet, that same unease stayed lodged in his chest, low, steady, and impossible to ignore. Atlas didn't settle either. The dog paced. Not endlessly, not out of control, but in a tight, deliberate pattern between the front door and the window that faced the north pasture. Every few minutes, he would stop, head lifted, ears angled toward the distance, listening. Logan watched him from the table, the cold coffee untouched in front of him. "You're not letting it go," he said quietly. Atlas didn't respond. He just stared into the dark. Logan leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. He had spent years learning how to read this dog, how to trust him when things didn't make sense. That instinct had kept them both alive once. It wasn't something you ignored. Not twice. He stood. The chair scraped softly against the wooden floor. "All right," he said. "We take another look." Atlas turned immediately, as if he'd been waiting for those words. Logan grabbed a flashlight from the counter, checked the batteries out of habit, and shrugged on his heavier jacket. The night air would be colder now, sharper. He opened the door. The mountain air hit him like a clean blade, thin, crisp, and carrying the faint scent of pine and dry earth. The stars had already begun to scatter across the sky, bright and distant. Atlas stepped out first. No hesitation this time, but no eagerness either. Just purpose. They moved together across the dark pasture, boots and paws crunching softly against the hardened ground. The mound loomed ahead, darker now against the night, its jagged silhouette cutting into the horizon like something unnatural. Logan clicked on the flashlight. The beam cut a narrow path through the darkness, landing on the spot Atlas had dug earlier. The disturbed earth was still there. Nothing had changed. And yet, it felt different. "Stay close," Logan said. Atlas didn't need the command, but it came out anyway. Logan crouched again at the same spot, brushing away more dirt with his hands. The soil gave way easier this time, loosened from before. The metal surface revealed itself faster, wider, smoother. Not just a plate, a structure. Logan cleared more of it, working methodically now, pushing dirt aside, exposing edges. The shape became clearer, straight lines, sharp corners, a hatch. He paused, sitting back slightly, his breath steady but slower now. "Okay," he murmured. Atlas stood a few feet behind him, not beside him, behind, watching. Logan reached for the shovel he had brought, driving the tip into the earth with controlled force. Each push of dirt revealed more of the object beneath. 4 feet across, maybe more, a perfect square. He worked along the edge, uncovering a seam where metal met earth. His gloves scraped against the surface, knocking loose decades of compacted dirt. Then, there it was. Faded markings. Logan leaned closer, angling the flashlight. The beam caught on something worn into the steel. Letters. He wiped the surface with his sleeve, clearing away the last of the dust. Authorized personnel only. The words were faint, but unmistakable. Below them, a date. Logan's jaw tightened. "That's not possible," he said under his breath. Atlas let out a low growl. Not loud, not aggressive, just enough to vibrate through the silence. Logan glanced back. The dog's body was rigid again, eyes locked not on Logan, but on the hatch, and beyond it. Logan followed his gaze instinctively. The tree line, dark, still. But for a split second, he thought he saw movement. Just a flicker, a shift between the pines. He straightened slowly, flashlight snapping toward the trees. Nothing. Only shadows. Only wind. He stood there for several seconds, listening. The mountains answered with silence. Logan exhaled, lowering the light. "Just the wind," he muttered. But it didn't sound convincing. He turned back to the hatch. The metal looked older up close. Not just aged, but reinforced, thick, industrial. This wasn't something someone built for storage. Not a cellar, not a water tank. Something else. Something designed. Something meant to last. He ran his hand along the edge until his fingers brushed against a recessed handle. Cold. Solid. Heavy, he froze. Atlas barked once. Sharp, immediate. Logan stopped. His hand remained on the handle, but he didn't pull. Not yet. The air felt tighter suddenly, like the world itself had paused. He slowly removed his hand. Atlas relaxed, just slightly. That was enough. Logan stood up fully, stepping back from the hatch. "We're not opening that tonight," he said. Atlas didn't move, didn't argue, but he stayed between Logan and the hatch as they backed away, watching it, guarding it, or keeping Logan away from it. They walked back toward the house in silence. No wind now, no sound except their steps. Behind them, the mound stood unchanged. The hatch lay half exposed beneath it, waiting. And somewhere deep beneath the earth, whatever had been sealed there for 60 years remained undisturbed, for now. The word stayed with Logan long after he closed the cabin door behind him. He locked it, not out of habit, but intention. The sound of the deadbolt sliding into place echoed louder than it should have in the quiet room. Atlas moved immediately to the door, sitting beside it, his posture alert. Not guarding the house, guarding something outside. Logan watched him for a moment. Then he turned away. "Get some rest," he muttered, though it sounded more like an order to himself. He moved through the cabin slowly, checking windows, adjusting the curtain over the one that faced the north pasture. The darkness out there felt thicker now, heavier, like it wasn't just night, but something else layered into it. He pulled the curtain shut. The cabin fell into a softer kind of silence. Still, not peaceful. Logan sat down in the armchair near the fireplace, his body sinking into the worn cushions. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped tight enough to turn his knuckles pale. He had seen something like that hatch before. Not exactly, but close enough. Remote installations. Sealed access points. Structures meant to stay hidden, not because they were abandoned, but because they weren't meant to be found. His jaw tightened. 1963, he whispered. The number wasn't random. That was the height of Cold War testing. Experimental projects. Things that never made it into official records. Things buried, forgotten, or covered up. Atlas let out a low, uneasy breath. Logan looked up. The dog hadn't moved from the door. His head was tilted slightly now, ears forward, eyes focused on something beyond the wood and glass. Logan followed his gaze instinctively. Nothing. Just darkness. Still. The feeling returned, that same pressure in his chest, like he was being watched. He stood. The movement was sudden, sharp. Atlas turned his head toward him immediately. "We're checking it again," Logan said. He didn't wait. He grabbed his flashlight, his jacket, and this time, a pry bar from the corner near the tools. Old habit. You never approach the unknown without something in your hands. Atlas moved ahead of him as they stepped outside. The air had changed. Colder now. The wind had dropped completely, leaving the valley in a strange, heavy stillness. Even the usual night sounds, the distant rustle of trees, the low calls of wildlife, were gone. The world felt paused. They moved faster this time. No hesitation. The mound came into view quickly, the shape looming larger in the darkness. The flashlight beam cut across its surface, illuminating the rough, unnatural texture and the exposed hatch. Logan approached it carefully, boots pressing into the hardened dirt. Atlas stopped several feet back again, refusing to come closer. That alone told Logan everything he needed to know. "All right," he murmured. He knelt again, brushing away more dirt along the edges. The hatch was fully visible now, a solid steel square reinforced along the seams. The handle sat recessed in the center, thick and built for weight. Logan angled the light again, focusing on the markings. Authorized personnel only, 1963. Below it, faint lettering, almost worn away. He leaned closer, wiping it clean with his sleeve. The beam caught the words just enough to read. Containment access. Logan froze. The word hit differently. Not storage, not entry. Containment. Atlas barked, sharp, immediate. Logan turned slightly. "What?" he snapped, tension rising in his voice. Atlas wasn't looking at him. He was looking at the ground, at the hatch. His body was low now, muscles tight, ready to move, but not forward. Away. Logan followed his gaze again, and then he heard it. Faint. So faint he almost dismissed it. A sound beneath the earth. Not a voice, not movement. Just a low, hollow vibration, like something shifting far below. Logan's breath caught. He leaned closer, instinct pulling him toward the hatch despite everything telling him not to. The sound came again, a dull, metallic resonance, echoing. From below, Atlas backed up another step, whining now, soft, urgent, almost pleading. Logan's hand moved toward the handle, stopped, moved again. His fingers brushed the cold steel, and in that instant, the sound stopped. Completely. The silence that followed was absolute. Logan slowly pulled his hand back. Atlas stopped whining. Both of them stood there, frozen in place, waiting. Nothing happened. No sound. No movement. Just the weight of the mountain pressing down over whatever lay beneath. Logan stood up slowly, his chest tight. "Yeah," he said under his breath. "That's not right." He stepped back. One step, then another. Atlas immediately moved closer to him, pressing against his leg again, guiding him away without force. They didn't speak. didn't stop. They walked all the way back to the cabin without looking back. But Logan could feel it, even with his back turned, even with distance growing between him and the mound. That same feeling, stronger now, like whatever was down there, had noticed, and wasn't going back to sleep. Logan didn't sleep either. He lay on the narrow bed in the corner of the cabin, staring at the ceiling as shadows from the window stretched and shifted with the moonlight. Every sound felt louder. Every creak of wood, every subtle shift in the air carried weight. Atlas never settled. The dog stayed near the door most of the night, rising every so often to pace, then returning to the same spot, always facing the same direction. The north pasture. By dawn, Logan gave up trying. He sat up slowly, rubbing a hand over his face, exhaustion sitting heavy behind his eyes. But beneath it, something sharper. Clarity. "All right," he said quietly. "We don't guess anymore." Atlas turned his head toward him. Logan stood, pulled on his jacket, and grabbed his keys. "We find out what that thing is." The road into town cut through miles of open land, winding along the base of the mountains. The early morning light painted everything in cold gold, but the beauty didn't reach Logan. His mind stayed fixed on the hatch, on the word. Containment. Atlas sat in the passenger seat of the old truck, alert, watching the road ahead. Not relaxed. Not curious. Focused. They reached the edge of town just after sunrise. A small place, barely more than a handful of buildings clustered together. A diner, a feed store, a gas station, and a few homes scattered along the main road. Quiet. Familiar. Normal. Too normal. Logan parked in front of a small wooden house at the far end of the street. The yard was neat despite the dry conditions, with stubborn patches of green clinging to life around carefully placed stones. Atlas jumped out before Logan even shut the engine off. He walked to the front porch and sat, waiting. Logan followed, stepping up onto the weathered wood. He raised his hand and knocked. The door opened before his second knock landed. "Logan Pierce," the woman said, her voice calm but surprised. "Didn't expect to see you this early." Evelyn Carter stood framed in the doorway, her silver hair pulled back neatly, her sharp blue eyes studying him with quiet intelligence. She was well into her 70s, but there was nothing fragile about her presence. "Morning, Evelyn," Logan said. Her gaze shifted briefly to Atlas. "Well, if he's with you, I'm guessing this isn't just a social visit." Logan managed a faint, tired smile. "No, ma'am, it's not." She stepped aside. "Then you better come in." The house smelled of coffee and old books. Logan sat at the small kitchen table while Evelyn poured 2 cups without asking. Atlas settled near the door again, but this time his posture eased slightly, not relaxed, but less tense than before. Familiar territory. Safe for now. Evelyn set the cup in front of Logan and took her seat across from him. "All right," she said. "What did you find?" Logan hesitated. Then he spoke. "Something buried on my land. North pasture. Under that termite mound." Evelyn didn't interrupt. "It's not natural," Logan continued. "Steel, reinforced, military markings, dated 1963. That got her attention. Her fingers tightened slightly around her cup. "And?" she asked. Logan met her eyes. "It says containment access." Silence settled between them. Not confusion, recognition. Evelyn leaned back slowly, her expression shifting, not surprised, but resigned. "I was wondering how long it would take," she said quietly. Logan frowned. You knew about it? Not exactly, she replied. But I knew something was out there. She glanced toward the window, as if she could see beyond the town, beyond the miles of land, all the way to Logan's ranch. Back in the 60s, she began, this area wasn't as quiet as it looks now. There were convoys moving through at night. Military trucks. No markings. No explanations. Logan listened, still focused. People talked, she continued. Not openly. Just enough to know something wasn't right. Lights in the mountains. Tremors that didn't feel like earthquakes. And then, one summer, everything stopped. She paused. Like someone flipped a switch. Logan's jaw tightened. What kind of operation? Evelyn shook her head. No one knew, and the ones who asked too many questions stopped asking. Logan leaned forward slightly. My father worked at the base outside town, he said. Daniel Pierce. Evelyn's eyes softened. I remember him, she said. Quiet man, smart, always thinking 3 steps ahead. Logan's chest tightened. He died when I was a kid. Heart attack. Evelyn didn't respond immediately. Instead, she studied him carefully. Is that what they told you? She asked. The question hung in the air. Logan didn't answer. Didn't need to. Evelyn sighed softly. Your father was different in those last months, she said. He came by here once, asked if I'd noticed anything unusual in the valley. I told him what everyone else had seen. He didn't seem surprised. What did he say? Logan asked, his voice lower now. Evelyn looked down at her cup. He said some things aren't meant to be buried, she said. But sometimes, they are for a reason. Logan leaned back slowly. The room felt smaller. He knew, Logan murmured. Evelyn met his gaze. Yes, she said. I believe he did. A faint sound came from the doorway. Atlas, the dog, had stood again, ears forward, body tense. Logan turned. What is it? Atlas wasn't looking at him. He was looking outside. Evelyn followed his gaze. A car had just pulled up across the street. Black. Clean. Out of place. Logan's expression hardened instantly. The engine idled for a moment, then shut off. 2 men stepped out. Suits, not locals, not ranchers. They stood for a second, scanning the street casually. Then one of them looked directly at the house, at Logan. Atlas let out a low, steady growl. Evelyn's voice dropped. You didn't tell anyone about what you found, did you? Logan didn't answer. He didn't need to. The man across the street started walking toward the house. And in that moment, Logan Pierce realized something with absolute certainty. Whatever had been buried for 60 years wasn't forgotten. It was being watched. Logan didn't wait for the knock. He stood up slowly, every movement controlled, his instincts sharpening in a way they hadn't in years. Across the room, Atlas shifted forward, positioning himself between Logan and the front door, his body low, muscles coiled, ready. Evelyn's voice was barely above a whisper. Logan, I see them, he said quietly. The sound of footsteps approached the porch. Calm, measured, not rushed, professional. A firm knock echoed through the house. 3 times. Logan glanced at Evelyn. Stay behind me. She nodded once. The knock came again. Mr. Pierce, a voice called from outside. Smooth, controlled. We'd like a word. Logan stepped toward the door, but didn't open it fully. He unlocked it, pulled it open just enough to see. Two men stood on the porch. Dark suits, clean shoes, no dust, no signs they belonged anywhere near this town. The older one smiled slightly. "Good morning," he said. "We're with the Federal Land Survey Division. We've received reports of unauthorized excavation on your property." Logan didn't move. "Funny," he replied. "Didn't file any reports." The younger man shifted his stance, eyes flicking briefly to Atlas, who hadn't made a sound, but hadn't looked away either. "We're just here to inspect," the older man continued. "Routine matter, won't take long." Logan leaned against the doorframe, blocking the entrance. "Not happening," he said. The smile didn't leave the man's face. "We can make this easier, Mr. Pierce," Atlas growled, low, steady, the kind of sound that didn't warn. It promised. The younger man took half a step back without realizing it. The older man's eyes flicked down toward the dog, then back to Logan. "We'll be in touch," he said calmly. Logan held his gaze. "Don't be." The man gave a small nod. Then both turned and walked back toward the black SUV. No argument. No pressure. That was worse. Logan closed the door slowly, locking it again. The engine started outside. Moments later, the vehicle pulled away. Silence returned. But it didn't feel like relief. It felt like a clock had started. Evelyn exhaled shakily. "They know," she said. Logan nodded. "Yeah." Atlas moved away from the door, but not far. He stayed close to Logan now, pressing lightly against his leg, grounding him. Logan looked down at the dog, then back at Evelyn. "I have to see what's down there." Evelyn's expression tightened. "You're not thinking clearly." "No," Logan said. "I am." He grabbed his jacket again, this time with purpose. If they're already watching, then whatever's in that bunker matters, and I need to know what it is before they come back. Evelyn hesitated, then gave a slow nod. "Be careful," she said. Logan didn't answer. He was already moving. The drive back to the ranch felt shorter, or maybe everything else had just sped up. Logan's mind was locked on the hatch, the markings, the sound beneath the ground. Atlas sat upright in the passenger seat, more alert than before, watching every turn, every stretch of road. No sign of the SUV. That didn't mean anything. When they reached the ranch, Logan didn't go inside. He went straight to the north pasture. The mound stood exactly where it had been. Silent. Unchanged. Waiting. Logan grabbed the pry bar from the truck, along with a coil of rope and a heavier flashlight. His movements were efficient now, automatic, like muscle memory from another life. Atlas followed, but slower, reluctant. Logan stopped at the edge of the exposed hatch. "Stay," he said. Atlas didn't sit. He didn't step back either. He just stood there, staring at Logan, tension running through his entire body. "I need to do this," Logan added, softer now. A long moment passed. Then Atlas slowly stepped back. Not far, but enough. Logan nodded once. He knelt and wedged the pry bar into the seam of the hatch. The metal resisted. Decades of pressure holding it sealed. Logan adjusted his grip, braced his foot, and pushed. Nothing. He exhaled sharply, repositioned, and struck the bar with controlled force. A dull, metallic crack echoed through the valley. Again and again, on the fourth strike, the seal broke. A sharp, hollow pop echoed from beneath the surface. Then, a long, low hiss. Air, old air, rushing out. Atlas yelped. The dog stumbled backward, ears flat, teeth bared, not in aggression but in instinctive rejection. The smell hit Logan next, not decay, not rot. Something sharper, chemical, cold, like metal and dust and something else he couldn't name. He stepped back instinctively, covering his mouth. "Easy, easy," Atlas barked again, louder now, pacing in tight circles, refusing to come near. Logan forced himself forward. He grabbed the handle, pulled. The hatch opened with a heavy, grinding sound, scraping against the dirt as it shifted aside. Beneath it, darkness. Absolute. A steel ladder descended into it, disappearing into the black. Logan stood at the edge, staring down. The air rising from below was cold, unnaturally cold. Atlas whined, high, urgent. Logan didn't look at him. He tied the rope to the bulldozer's frame, securing it without thinking. Then he clipped it to his belt. Just in case. He turned back to the opening. "You watch my back," he said quietly. Atlas barked, refused. But he didn't leave. Logan swung one leg over the edge, then the other. His boots found the first rung. Cold metal. He began to descend. The light from above faded quickly. The smell thickened. The air pressed in. 10 feet down. 15. 20. The darkness swallowed everything. Then, his boots hit solid ground. He unclipped the flashlight and switched it on. The beam cut through the black, revealing steel walls, narrow space, old pipes running along the ceiling, a corridor stretching deeper into the structure. Logan's breath shortened. His chest tightened. Not here. Not again. The walls felt closer, the air thinner. For a second, he wasn't in Montana. He was somewhere else. A cave, a mission. The sound of distant gunfire. The feeling of being trapped. Logan slammed his hand against the wall. "No," he muttered. Above him, Atlas barked. Loud, fierce. The sound snapped through the haze. Logan blinked, focused. "I'm here," he said, forcing the words out. He turned the light forward again. The corridor waited, dark, silent, unanswered. Logan took one step, then another, deeper into the bunker, and whatever had been sealed down there for 60 years was no longer alone. The beam of Logan's flashlight cut a narrow path through the corridor, catching dust particles suspended in the cold, stale air. Each step echoed softly against the steel floor, the sound swallowed almost immediately by the oppressive silence. The walls were reinforced, thick, industrial panels riveted together with precision. This wasn't makeshift. This was engineered, built to last, built to contain. Logan moved slowly, his breathing controlled, though his chest still felt tight. The air down here carried that same metallic, chemical edge, sharp enough to taste. "Stay focused," he muttered. Above him, faint but steady. Atlas barking, not panicked now, anchoring, keeping him here. Logan reached the end of the corridor. It opened into a wider room. He swept the light across it. Old equipment lined the walls. Metal consoles, cables, sealed containers. Everything coated in a thin layer of dust, untouched for decades. A large steel door stood at the far end, shut tight, its surface marked with warning symbols long faded. To his left, a table. Logan approached it cautiously. On top sat a leather-bound logbook, and beside it, a small metal case. He hesitated, then reached for the book first. The leather cracked slightly as he opened it. The pages inside thick, yellowed with age. Rows of handwritten entries filled the paper. Dates, measurements, notes written in careful, precise script. Logan flipped through them quickly. Most of it was technical. Numbers, readings, terminology he recognized just enough to understand the pattern. Something had been monitored here, closely. And then, the entries changed. The handwriting grew tighter, more urgent. July 12th, 1963. Initial phase stable. Containment holding. July 18th, 1963. Minor fluctuations detected, within acceptable range. July 21st, 1963. Pressure irregularities increasing. Recommend suspension. Logan slowed. His eyes scanned faster now. July 22nd, 1963. Request denied. Orders to proceed. July 23rd, 1963. Containment integrity compromised. Structural stress beyond projections. The next entry, barely legible. July 24th, 1963. Failure. System breach. Immediate lockdown required. Logan's grip tightened on the page. Below it, a final line. Written harder, deeper, almost carved into the paper. This should never have been built. Logan exhaled slowly. The room felt colder. He closed the book halfway, his mind already racing. Seismic manipulation. Containment. Failure. His father's voice echoed faintly in memory. Conversations he barely remembered. Fragments of a past he never fully understood. Then, the case. Logan set the book down and opened the metal box. Inside, 3 audio tapes, reel to reel, each labeled with the same date range. July 1963, and one name. Daniel Pierce. Logan froze. His throat tightened. "No," he whispered. Atlas barked sharply above. Logan flinched, then forced himself to move. He scanned the room again. There, against the wall, an old tape player, dust-covered but intact. He crossed the room quickly, setting the tapes down with careful hands. His fingers trembled slightly, not from fear, from something else. He wiped the surface clean, checked the connections. Still operational, barely. He hesitated only a second, then loaded the first tape. The machine clicked. The reels began to turn. A low hiss filled the room. Then, a voice. Calm. Measured. Familiar in a way that hit deeper than memory. "This is Daniel Pierce. Field log. July 23rd, 1963. Logan's breath stopped. "My name is Daniel Pierce." The words settled into him like something breaking open. His father. Alive. Speaking. "This project was never about stability," the voice continued. "It was about control. Controlled seismic disruption. A weapon." Logan sank slowly into the chair beside the machine. "They pushed it too far," Daniel's voice said. "The fault line isn't stable. It's reacting differently than predicted." A pause. A breath. "We've triggered something deeper. Something we don't fully understand." Logan's grip tightened on the edge of the table. "They've ordered us to proceed anyway," the voice continued, strained now. "They believe it can still be contained." Another pause. Longer. Then, "They're wrong." The tape hissed. Logan leaned forward. "The structure is holding for now," Daniel said. "But the pressure below, it's building. This isn't just a geological reaction. There's a resonance, a feedback loop." Logan's mind raced. The sound beneath the hatch, the vibration. "I've submitted a full stop request," Daniel continued. "It's been denied." A faint sound in the background. Voices. Distant. "They're locking the site down," Daniel said. "If this fails, it won't stay contained." Logan swallowed. The room felt smaller again. The walls closer. They've assigned security to monitor all personnel, Daniel added. If anything happens to me, if this log is found, this wasn't an accident. The tape crackled. Then, I tried to stop them. Silence. The reels slowed, stopped. Logan didn't move. He just sat there, listening to nothing. Atlas barked again above, louder, more urgent. Logan blinked. Reality rushed back in. The room, the bunker, the truth. His father hadn't died from a heart attack. He had known. He had tried to stop it. And they... A sharp wave of anger surged through Logan, sudden and overwhelming. His hand slammed against the table. "No," he growled. The sound echoed through the chamber. His breathing quickened. The walls felt tighter again, the pressure rising. The same feeling, the same loss of control. Logan stood abruptly, knocking the chair back. His vision blurred for a second. Then, a sound. Above. Atlas. Not barking. Calling. Logan froze. The sound cut through everything. The anger, the panic, the memory. He closed his eyes, took a breath. Another. "I'm here," he whispered. His hands unclenched slowly. The room came back into focus. The walls pulled back. The pressure eased. Atlas. He needed to get back to Atlas. Logan grabbed the tapes. The logbook. He didn't hesitate. He turned and moved quickly toward the ladder. Each rung felt steadier. Each breath stronger. As he climbed, the light above grew brighter. Atlas's silhouette appeared at the opening. The dog was pacing, whining, ready to jump in if needed. Logan pulled himself up onto the surface. The fresh air hit him hard. Clean, sharp, real. Atlas was on him instantly, pressing close, checking him, grounding him. "I'm good," Logan said, his voice rough. "I'm good." He dropped to one knee, resting his forehead briefly against the dog's. "You brought me back," he murmured. Atlas stayed close, steady, unmoving. Logan looked back at the open hatch, then down at the tapes in his hand. The truth was no longer buried, and neither was the past. Whatever had started in 1963 wasn't over. It had just been waiting. The sun dipped low behind the Montana peaks, casting long shadows across Logan Pierce's ranch. The light turned everything gold for a moment, but it didn't feel warm. It felt like a warning. Logan stood near the open hatch, the cold steel still exposed beneath the broken earth. The tapes and logbook were tucked under his arm, his grip firm, like he was afraid they might disappear if he loosened it. Atlas stayed close, closer than usual. The dog's body brushed against Logan's leg, not out of comfort, but readiness. Logan looked down at him. "You feel it too, don't you?" Atlas didn't respond. His ears were up, eyes scanning. Logan exhaled slowly and turned toward the house. "We're not leaving this open." He moved back to the bulldozer, fired the engine, carefully pushed dirt the back on over the hatch. Not enough to bury it completely, but enough to hide the exposed metal from plain sight. The machine rumbled through the quiet valley. Too loud, too obvious. When he shut it off again, the silence that followed felt even heavier. They walked back toward the cabin. The air had shifted, colder, still, as if the land itself was holding its breath. Logan stepped onto the porch and paused. Atlas froze beside him. A low growl began deep in the dog's chest. Logan followed his gaze. Down the dirt road. A vehicle. Black. Clean. moving slowly toward the ranch. Logan's jaw tightened. "Inside," he said quietly. Atlas didn't move. The growl deepened. The SUV rolled to a stop about 30 yards from the house. Engine still running. Dust settling around it. 2 doors opened. 2 men stepped out. Same as before. Same suits. Same calm, controlled movements. Logan didn't step back. He stood his ground on the porch, one hand resting lightly on Atlas's neck. "Stay," he murmured. Atlas didn't sit. But he stayed. The men approached without hurry, their shoes untouched by the dirt, their posture straight, deliberate. The older one spoke first. "Mr. Pierce," he said, voice smooth, "we were hoping you'd reconsider." Logan didn't answer. The younger man's eyes flicked to Atlas again, measured, calculating. Logan saw it, and didn't like it. "I already gave you an answer," Logan said. The older man nodded slightly. "Yes, you did." A pause, then, "We believe you may have uncovered something of federal interest." Logan's expression didn't change. "Then you believe wrong." The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. "We'd prefer to handle this quietly." Atlas growled, louder now. The younger man shifted his weight again, tension creeping into his stance. Logan leaned forward slightly. "You don't belong here," he said, "and you're not stepping on my land." The older man studied him for a long moment. Then his gaze shifted, past Logan, toward the house, toward the windows, toward what might be inside. "Mr. Pierce," he said calmly, "you don't understand what you're dealing with." Logan's voice dropped. "I understand enough." A beat of silence. Then the man nodded. "Very well." He turned. The younger man followed. No argument, no escalation. That was the problem. They walked back to the SUV, got in, and drove away. Slow, controlled, like they had all the time in the world. Logan didn't move until the vehicle disappeared over the ridge. Only then did he exhale. Atlas didn't relax, not even slightly. "They'll be back," Logan said. The dog looked up at him. Steady. Certain. Logan nodded once. "Yeah, I know." Night came fast. The temperature dropped sharply, the air turning brittle and cold. Inside the cabin, Logan moved with quiet efficiency. Windows locked, lights dimmed. The tapes and logbook placed on the table. Atlas remained near the door, his body angled toward it, listening, always listening. Logan sat across from the evidence, staring at it. His father's voice echoed in his mind. This wasn't an accident. They tried to bury it. Logan clenched his jaw. "They killed him," he muttered. The words settled heavily in the room. Atlas shifted, glancing back at him. Logan ran a hand over his face. "Yeah, I know." He reached for one of the tapes again, turning it over in his hands. Proof. Not just of the project, but of the cover-up, of everything. And now, those men, watching, waiting, the same way they had 60 years ago. Logan leaned back slowly. "They're not done," he said. "And neither are we." Atlas stood, moved closer, pressed his head against Logan's knee, grounding him, steadying him. Logan rested a hand on the dog's neck. "You kept me alive once," he said quietly. "Looks like you're doing it again." Atlas's tail moved once, slow, certain. Outside. Far in the distance, headlights appeared again. Not close, not yet. But there. watching, waiting. The game had started, and this time, Logan Pierce wasn't going to run. The decision settled into him like steel. No hesitation, no retreat. He sat at the table, the tapes and logbooks spread out in front of him, the faint hum of the old lamp casting long shadows across the room. Atlas remained by the door, unmoving, a silent sentinel. Outside, the night deepened. Too quiet. Logan checked his watch. Midnight. He hadn't slept, didn't plan to. The ranch wasn't safe anymore, and whoever those men were, they weren't going to wait. Atlas's ears twitched. Then, he stood, instant, rigid. A low growl rolled from his chest. Logan's head snapped up. "What is it?" Atlas didn't move toward the door this time. He turned his head slightly, toward the back of the house. Logan rose slowly, every muscle tightening. The growl deepened. Then, a faint sound. Outside, behind the cabin. Footsteps. Careful. Deliberate. Logan moved without thinking. He crossed the room in silence, grabbed the flashlight, and cut the light inside the cabin. Darkness swallowed the room. Atlas stayed low, tracking the sound. Another step, closer. Logan moved toward the back window, keeping low, peering through the narrow gap between the curtain and the frame. Nothing at first. Then, movement. A shadow passing along the side of the house. Logan's breath slowed. "They're here," he whispered. Atlas didn't bark, didn't break. He waited. Then, another sound. From the front this time. A sudden burst. Glass shattered. Logan spun. The front window exploded inward, shards scattering across the floor. Atlas lunged forward with a violent bark. "Stay!" Logan snapped. But the dog was already moving. The front door rattled. Once, twice, then burst open. A figure stepped inside. Masked. Fast. Logan didn't hesitate. He moved forward, intercepting. The man barely had time to react before Logan slammed into him, driving him back into the wall. The impact knocked the air from both of them, but Logan didn't stop. He drove his shoulder forward again, hard. The intruder staggered. Atlas hit him next. A blur of muscle and teeth. The dog latched onto the man's arm, pulling him off balance, dragging him down to the floor. A second figure appeared in the doorway. Logan turned just as a flash of light burst from outside. Then, a roar. The night exploded. A wave of heat slammed into the house. Logan staggered, instinct taking over. For a split second, he wasn't in Montana. He was somewhere else. Desert heat, fire, an explosion ripping through the air. The same pressure, the same sound. His vision narrowed. His body locked. "Move!" his mind screamed. But he couldn't. Not yet. Atlas's bark cut through it. Sharp, fierce, present. Logan blinked. Reality snapped back. The second intruder was moving, fast, toward the table, toward the tapes. Logan surged forward. He grabbed the man mid-stride, driving him sideways into the kitchen counter. The impact sent dishes crashing to the floor. The man struggled. Logan didn't let him. A quick strike, precise. The man dropped. Behind him, the first intruder screamed. Atlas held firm, jaws locked, dragging the man across the floor, refusing to release. "Atlas!" Logan barked. The dog released instantly, stepping back but staying ready, teeth bared. The intruder scrambled backward, clutching his arm, eyes wide with panic. From outside, the fire grew. Logan turned. The barn. Flames were already climbing the structure, lighting the entire ranch in flickering orange. "They lit it," Logan said under his breath. "A diversion." Of course it was. The remaining intruder staggered toward the door. Logan stepped forward, but stopped. The fire roared louder. The barn, everything inside, gone. The man bolted, disappeared into the night. Logan didn't chase. He turned instead toward Atlas. The dog stood in the center of the room, chest rising and falling, eyes still locked on the door. Ready, waiting. Logan knelt quickly, running his hands over the dog. "You good?" he asked. Atlas huffed once, uninjured. Logan nodded. "Good." Behind him, the flames cracked and roared, the heat pushing against the cabin walls. The barn was lost. There was no saving it. Logan stood slowly. His gaze shifted back to the table. The tapes. Still there. Untouched. He picked them up, gripping them tightly. "They didn't get it," he said. Atlas stepped beside him, steady, unmoving. Logan looked out at the fire, then back at the dark ridge beyond it. "They're not done," he said quietly. Atlas didn't look away. Neither did Logan. The night burned, and the war had just begun. The flames didn't die quickly. They consumed. The barn groaned as beams collapsed inward, sending sparks high into the night sky like embers trying to escape. The smell of burning wood, hay, and fuel filled the air, thick and suffocating. Logan stood a few yards away, the heat pressing against his face, his eyes fixed on what was left of his livelihood. Years of work, gone in minutes. Atlas stood beside him, silent now, no longer growling. His body leaned slightly against Logan's leg, not pushing, not pulling, just there, grounding him. Logan didn't move, didn't speak. His hands tightened around the tapes. His father's voice, the truth, still intact, but everything else. Ash. The fire crackled louder. A section of the roof gave way with a sharp, heavy crash. Logan flinched. And just like that, the world shifted. The fire, the sound, the pressure in the air. It wasn't the ranch anymore. It was somewhere else. Another explosion. Another night. The same heat. The same chaos. Logan's breathing changed. Shallow, fast. His vision narrowed, the edges blurring. "No," he muttered. His body locked again, muscles tightening without command. His mind pulled him backward, back into the memory, the mission, the failure. The moment everything fell apart. "Move," he whispered, but his feet didn't respond. The fire roared, too loud, too close. Atlas moved, fast. The dog stepped directly in front of him, pressing his body hard into Logan's legs, forcing contact, forcing presence. A sharp bark, close, direct. Logan blinked. Atlas didn't back away. He pushed again, harder this time, his weight shifting upward, forcing Logan to step back. Another bark, short, commanding. Logan's breath hitched. The sound cut through the noise, through the memory, through the panic. He focused. On Atlas, on the dog's eyes. Clear, steady, here, now. Logan inhaled sharply, held it, then exhaled. Again, slower. The edges of the world sharpened. The fire was still there. The ranch, the night. He wasn't back there. He was here. "I'm good," he said, though his voice was rough. Atlas stayed close, didn't move, didn't relax. He waited. Logan reached down, gripping the dog's collar lightly. "Yeah, I'm here," he added. The shaking in his hands eased. The noise faded into something manageable. The fire became just fire again. Not memory, not war. Logan straightened slowly. Behind him, a voice. "Logan!" He turned. Headlights cut through the smoke as a pickup truck rolled into the yard. It skidded to a stop, and a man jumped out, running toward him. Ryan Blake. Young, mid-20s, local reporter. Logan frowned. "What are you doing here?" Ryan slowed as he reached him, eyes wide as he took in the burning barn. "I saw the smoke from town," he said. "Figured something was wrong." Logan nodded once. "Yeah, you could say that." Ryan glanced around, then back at Logan. "This wasn't an accident, was it?" Logan didn't answer immediately. He looked down at the tapes in his hand, then back at Ryan. "No," he said finally. Ryan's expression hardened. "I knew it," he muttered. "Evelyn called me earlier. Said you found something out there." Logan's eyes narrowed slightly. "You talked to her?" Ryan nodded. "She's worried. Said men were asking questions." Logan exhaled slowly. "They already came here," he said. Ryan looked back at the flames. "And now this." Logan didn't respond. Atlas shifted slightly, watching Ryan carefully, measuring him. Ryan noticed. "Easy," he said, raising a hand slightly. "I'm not the problem." Atlas didn't move. Logan rested a hand on the dog's back. "He's just doing his job," Logan said. Ryan nodded. "Looks like he's good at it." A brief silence passed. The fire crackled. Then Ryan stepped closer. "What did you find, Logan?" Logan hesitated. Then, he handed him one of the tapes. Ryan took it carefully, studying the label. 1963, he said. Logan nodded. "My father's voice is on that," he said. "He was part of whatever they buried out there." Ryan looked up. "Buried?" Logan met his gaze. "There's a bunker under that mound," he said. "And it wasn't meant to be found." Ryan's expression shifted, from curiosity to something sharper. "Logan, this isn't just local," he said. "I know." "They tried to burn your place down," Ryan added. "That's not random. That's cleanup." Logan nodded slowly. "Yeah." Ryan looked back at the fire, then at the tapes, then at Logan. "What's the plan?" Logan's jaw tightened. He looked out at the dark horizon. "They want this gone," he said. "So we make sure it doesn't disappear." Ryan nodded. "I can get copies made," he said. "Digital backups, multiple locations." Logan shook his head slightly. "That's part of it," he said. "But not enough." He held up the tapes. "These are the truth," he continued. "Physical proof. If they're gone, everything becomes a story." Ryan understood. "And stories can be buried," he said. Logan nodded. "Exactly." Atlas shifted again, glancing toward the ridge. Logan followed his gaze. Nothing visible. But the feeling, still there. "They're watching," Logan said quietly. Ryan looked in the same direction. "Then we move fast," he replied. Logan turned back toward the house. The fire still burned behind him. The ranch was damaged, but not finished. Neither was he. "Get your gear," Logan said. "We start now." Ryan nodded. Atlas stayed at Logan's side. Ready. The panic had passed. The grief had settled. And in its place, something stronger. Resolve. The fight wasn't over. And this time, Logan Pierce wasn't facing it alone. The fire had burned itself down to glowing embers by dawn. Smoke still drifted across the ranch, low and gray, clinging to everything it touched. The barn was gone. Nothing left but a blackened skeleton and twisted metal. but the house still stood, and inside it, the truth. Logan moved with quiet focus, his exhaustion buried beneath discipline. Ryan sat at the table, laptop open, cables running across the wood as he worked to digitize the tapes. Atlas remained near the door, alert, watching the world beyond the cabin. Every few minutes he would glance back at Logan, checking. Still there. Logan placed the final tape onto the table. "That's all of them," he said. Ryan nodded, typing quickly. "I'm uploading everything," he replied. "Multiple servers. Once it's out, it's not coming back." Logan leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "Good," he said. A moment passed. Then, the phone rang. Sharp. Unexpected. Both men froze. Atlas stood instantly, growl rising low in his chest. Logan stepped forward slowly and picked up the phone. "Yeah." The voice on the other end was calm. Too calm. "Mr. Pierce?" Logan's jaw tightened. "Where is she?" the man continued. Logan's expression changed. "What are you talking about?" A faint sound came through the line. A voice. Strained. "Logan." "Evelyn." Logan's grip tightened on the phone. "You shouldn't have involved others," the man said smoothly. "Now we're all forced to make difficult choices." Ryan's eyes widened across the room. Logan's voice dropped. "You touch her." "We already have," the man interrupted. Silence. Heavy. Controlled. "You will bring the original materials," the voice continued. "All of them. The tapes, the documents." Logan didn't speak. "You will come alone," the man added, "or she doesn't leave." A pause. Then, "We'll send the location." The line went dead. Logan lowered the phone slowly. The room felt smaller, tighter. Ryan stood. "What did they say?" Logan looked at him. "They took Evelyn." Ryan's face went pale. "They want the originals." A notification pinged on Logan's phone. Coordinates. Logan glanced down. Remote. Deep in the canyon. Of course. Ryan ran a hand through his hair. "We call the police, boss," he said. "Right now." Logan shook his head. "No." "What do you mean, no?" Ryan snapped. "If we bring them in too early, she's gone," Logan said. "These guys don't bluff." Ryan hesitated. He knew Logan was right. "So what do we do?" he asked. Logan looked toward the door. Atlas was already watching him, waiting. "We go," Logan said. The drive to the canyon was silent. The sky had shifted to a pale gray, the early morning light casting sharp contrast across the rugged terrain. The road narrowed as they moved deeper into the mountains, the land growing more isolated with every mile. Ryan sat in the passenger seat, tense, checking his camera equipment. "You sure about this?" he asked. Logan didn't take his eyes off the road. "No," he said. A beat. "But we're doing it anyway." In the back. Atlas lay hidden beneath a heavy blanket, silent, still, waiting. The canyon opened before them like a wound in the earth. Red rock, sharp edges, no cover, perfect for an ambush. Logan slowed the truck. "They'll be watching," he said. Ryan nodded. "I'll get into position," he replied. Logan pulled the truck to a stop behind a ridge. Ryan grabbed his gear and slipped out, moving quickly up the slope toward higher ground. Logan waited, counted to 10. Then, he drove forward alone. The canyon floor stretched wide and empty ahead, except they were there. The black SUV, parked near a cluster of rocks. Two men stood beside it, and between them, Evelyn, hands bound, but standing, alive. Logan stopped the truck, engine idling. He stepped out slowly, holding the metal case in his hand. The older man smiled. "Mr. Pierce, sure," he called. "Right on time." Logan didn't respond. "Place the case on the ground," the man said. Logan walked forward. Steady, measured. He set the case down. "Let her go," he said. The younger man laughed softly. "Not how this works." The older one raised a hand. "Let's verify first." The younger man stepped forward, opening the case. Inside, scrap metal, tools, not the tapes. The man's face twisted instantly. "It's fake." That was the moment. Logan raised two fingers to his mouth and whistled. Sharp, piercing. The sound cut through the canyon. For a fraction of a second, nothing happened. Then, the truck behind him exploded into motion. Glass shattered. Atlas launched. A gray blur of speed and force. He hit the younger man full on, knocking him backward before he could react. The weapon in the man's hand dropped to the ground. Chaos. The older man reached for his side. Too slow. Logan was already moving. He closed the distance in 2 strides, driving into the man with controlled force, knocking him off balance. The fight was fast, precise, controlled, no wasted movement. Behind him, Atlas held his target down, teeth bared, preventing him from getting up. The canyon filled with sound. Shouts, struggle. Then, sirens, loud, closing fast, from both ends of the canyon. Ryan had done his part. Law enforcement vehicles poured into the area, cutting off every exit. The older man froze. The younger one stopped fighting. Atlas held position. Logan stepped back slowly, hands visible. The moment passed. Officers moved in, weapons drawn, taking control of the scene. Evelyn was freed. Ryan ran down from the ridge, camera still recording. "It's all on film," he said, breathless. "Everything." Logan nodded once. Atlas returned to his side, calm now, steady. The fight was over. But as Logan looked at the men being taken away, he knew something. This wasn't the end. Just another layer. And somewhere, beyond the canyon, beyond the mountains, the real truth was still waiting. Weeks passed. The mountains didn't change. They never did. Morning still came slow over the ridges, spilling pale light across the valley. Wind still moved through the pines. The land still looked the same from a distance. But Logan Pierce knew better. Some things didn't stay buried. Some things just waited. The ranch was quieter now. Rebuilding had begun. A new frame stood where the old barn had burned, fresh wood against the blackened ground. It wasn't finished, but it was something. Enough to move forward. Logan stood near the fence line, hands resting lightly on the weathered wood. Atlas sat beside him, calm for the first time in days, his ears relaxed, his breathing slow. Peace. Not complete, but real. Behind them, Ryan's truck was parked near the house. The young reporter had been coming by often, checking on Logan, updating him on the investigation, or what they called an investigation. Logan didn't trust the word anymore. Ryan stepped out now, holding a folder. "You're not going to like this," he said. Logan didn't turn. "Figured that already." Ryan walked closer, stopping beside him. "They're charging the 2 guys," he said. "Arson, assault, kidnapping." Logan nodded once. "And the rest?" Ryan hesitated. "They're not touching it," he admitted. "Not the bunker. Not the tapes. Nothing tied to the original project. Logan finally turned. So it disappears. Ryan exhaled. They're calling it classified, he said. National security. Logan's expression didn't change. Of course they were. Atlas shifted slightly, glancing toward the north pasture. Logan followed his gaze. The mound was gone. In its place, concrete. A thick, smooth slab poured over the entire site. Clean, final, stamped with a warning no one around here would question. Do not tamper. Logan stared at it for a long moment. They moved fast, Ryan said. Logan nodded. Yeah. They sealed everything, Ryan added. No access, no entry, federal control. Logan didn't respond. He didn't need to. They hadn't sealed everything. They had sealed what they could see. Ryan glanced at him. You still have it, don't you? Logan looked down at Atlas. The dog met his eyes. Steady, certain. Then Logan looked back at the pasture. Yeah, he said quietly. Ryan didn't ask where. He didn't need to. Later that evening, the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the land. Logan walked alone toward the edge of the north pasture. Atlas followed, a few steps behind. They stopped just short of the concrete slab. It stood there like a marker, a grave, or a warning. Logan didn't approach it. Instead, he turned slightly, toward a patch of ground just beyond it, unmarked, undisturbed. To anyone else, it was just dirt. To Logan, it was everything. Beneath that ground, sealed in a steel case, the tapes, the logbook, the truth. Safe. For now. Atlas moved closer, sitting beside him. Logan rested a hand on the dog's head. They think it's over, he said. Atlas's tail moved once, slow, knowing. Logan exhaled. They buried it again, he continued, just like before. The wind moved lightly through the grass, soft, quiet. But not this time, Logan added. He looked out across the land, the ranch, the mountains, the life he had almost lost, and the one he had taken back. I'm not fighting it anymore, he said. Not in the way he used to, not alone. He glanced down at Atlas. You made sure of that. The dog leaned into his leg. Solid. Unshakable. Logan nodded once. Yeah, he said. We did. The sun slipped below the ridge. The sky turned gold, then deep blue. Night came slowly. But it didn't feel the same. Not like before. Not like something was watching. For the first time in a long time, Logan felt it. Not victory, not closure. Something quieter. Peace. Not because the truth had won, but because it hadn't been lost. He turned away from the slab, from the past, from everything buried beneath it. Come on, he said. Atlas stood immediately. They walked back toward the house, toward the light, toward what remained. And behind them, the mountain kept its secret. But this time, it wasn't alone. And it wasn't forgotten. If you believe a man has the right to protect his land and his truth, type yes in the comments. And if Atlas earned your respect today, drop a loyalty below. Subscribe if you're the kind of person who stands their ground. There are more stories like this waiting for you.